West Ham and Everton can both lay claim to the Premier League's most unpredictable team, but both still remain in contention for a 7th place finish, and basically to try and claim the best of the rest. Still, Everton, Saturday, live in front of the cameras, an evening kick-off. What are your thoughts? Brief thoughts before we go thorough into it.
Yeah, much the same as you. We're on par with them, aren't we? We're kind of we've won one game more than them. We've lost the same amount of games. We've scored almost the same amount of goals. We've conceded almost the same amount of goals. We've both invested in the squad over last summer, and I think there were great expectations of both teams. And yet we're kind of we're on par. Still looking for that 7th spot, but not quite achieving what I think both sets of fans thought we might have achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. Everton, Silva, he knows West Ham pretty well. I think I've got some stats here from the last 5 games that West Ham and Everton have played. So West Ham have come out victorious out of the last 2 games and have won the last 2 games 3-1.
Yeah.
Before that, Everton, the 3 games before that, Everton beat us West Ham 4-0, a draw, and then a 2-0 victory to Everton. But you mentioned there, Everton spent a lot of money in the summer. A player that they signed was Richarlison from Watford, a player that I don't think many fans can deny and say that they didn't like. I thought he was a great player. I didn't think at the time £50 million was the price tag they should have paid, but has he paid back to Everton his price tag by scoring 12 goals for a middle of the range Premier League side?
Top goal scorer for them,
yeah.
Along with Sigurdsson, so. And I don't think anyone really thought that Richarlison would have been worth that sort of money. You said that yourself just now. And I don't think anyone thought he'd be any level of success, there. He seemed like a bit of an odd purchase, or certainly for that sort of money, he seemed like a bit of an odd purchase. I think even the Everton fans would have admitted that it's kind of surprised them. But yeah, he's done well. He's 12 goals. Is not a bad return for a team that he's still sort of getting accustomed to, so to speak. And he didn't seem that prolific at Watford. So, and I think Watford walked away laughing. I think they kind of thought we've done well here for getting rid of him for £50 million. So I think he's done all right.
Do you not think there's an element that he's the sort of player that West Ham kind of crave? He gets in the right positions. He can take on a player in behind the defence, make good runs, penetrate the defence. He's tricky. He's a bit of he's controversial. He's slightly Everton's bastard, like Hernandez was for West Ham. Is that the sort of player that West Ham are kind of craving?
I'd say now, in hindsight, yeah. But I wouldn't have said that at the beginning of the season. In fact, I think I would have been a fan who would have questioned buying Richarlison, especially for that sort of money. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And I think now looking back, to have a return of 12 goals. I mean, you compare him to our star signing, Anderson. Anderson's only scored 8 goals this season, whereas Richarlison has given Everton a return of 12.
Yeah.
And depending on which newspaper or which social media site you would have read, Anderson was anything up to £40-odd million purchase.
Yeah.
So, I think in hindsight, but I'd be really honest. I don't think many West Ham fans would have been happy if we actually bought him.
What, for £50 million? Yeah.
For £50 million. Yeah.
Another player though we were linked to in the summer, but I don't know if it was one of those fake links or whatever, but it's Sigurdsson. He scored 12 goals. He's their set piece genius. He's been a set piece genius in the Premier League since he's came in. And how do you rate him as a player? I mean, between the two, him and Richarlison, there's 24 goals there.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot fault their return between the two of them.
Sigurdsson is the kind of player West Ham would have loved to have had. But I guess we've got Lanzini, Nasri in that kind of mould.
Yeah.
But Sigurdsson's return has been excellent, hasn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, you could see Sigurdsson. the irony, you could see Sigurdsson in a West Ham shirt, and you'd go, he's made for the West Ham style of play.
Yep.
And he is an excellent player. I mean, he's. I'm kind of surprised that a top 4 team hasn't sort of maybe gone back in to try and buy him. He would comfortably fit into a top 4 team.
Yeah.
Without doubt. And he's an excellent player, and he's dangerous as well. And as you said, set pieces, creating goals, scoring goals. He's kind of a very, very decent attacking player.
And
absolutely.
Just 2 players we're talking about here still, Sigurdsson and Richarlison, 24 goals between them. But add to that the youth prospect they've got that sits up top, Calvert-Lewin, 6 goals this season. He's 22. I mean, they're giving youth a chance. Silva is giving youth a chance. He seems to like that. And the player, I mean, he looks like a decent player still.
Absolutely. We wax lyrical about our young players, but yet, he's come in and he's been given a chance and he's taken it, isn't he, with aplomb.
Yeah.
He's another exciting player. Everton, it's funny, we kind of got a bit of we're kind of level with Everton on a lot of things. We've got 2 managers who like youth, 2 managers who are willing to give youth a chance. I guess, though, the Everton youngsters have kind of delivered a bit more than our West Ham youngsters. Rice is the exception to the rule, but then Rice is a holding midfielder. But when you got like Diangana in our team, who's scored a couple of goals but hasn't really sort of taken off, and then you compare him to the Everton youngster, Everton have done better, haven't they?
Yeah.
With their youngsters.
Yeah, no, definitely. Another player to talk about, another player that literally was on the cusp of signing for West Ham was Bernard. Another trickster Brazilian. I think he really was. I think he's the one, I believe, from what I understand, it was literally between West Ham and Everton. Okay. And I think Everton came in at the last line. Now, whether or not Sigurdsson and Richarlison were true or not, but I think the Bernard one was probably quite close. I think there was a connection with one of the agents, and Anderson's agent or something like that was feeding him.
He would have been good to have, to be honest. He's a really decent player, isn't he? I mean, he's only made 3 assists this season. I don't know how many goals he scored for.
But I don't think I don't think he plays week in and week out. He's still young, but I think he's kind of used more. Either starts the game, comes off as a sub, and vice versa. But I mean, still, last time out, I mean, it was a great result. It was a great away day.
It's fantastic, and we had that's when we really saw Yarmolenko come to life, wasn't it? He scored 2 goals away from home. Away from home, and it was great to see. And we thought, here we go. Our Yarmolenko's going to be. I mean, you and I were like kind of like creaming ourselves over him, and then he goes and gets himself injured. It was almost like quite a comfortable win, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was at the time when Arnautovic was actually playing for the team as well.
Yeah.
And because he got one of the 3 goals as well, and it was kind of against a team like Everton, especially when. Excuse me, when previously they thrashed us 4-0. I know we had another 3-1 in between them, but it was more comfortable than I think any of us thought it would be.
Yeah, no, definitely. Before we get on to West Ham, a player that we do know that is missing for Everton is Mina, the Colombian defender. For me, still, I mean, I've got a good close friend who's Colombian, so I've always had a strong interest in the Colombian national side. We've seen him at the World Cup last year. I was desperate for West Ham to go and sign him up from Barcelona. We didn't. Everton got him, but it looks like he's pulled up with a hamstring and is going to be missing for the game. So that's going to be a massive, massive blow for Everton.
It's like us losing Diop.
Yeah, absolutely. Or even Balbuena, to be honest. I mean...
we've done all right without him, because Oggie's been there, but let's not go into that.
Oh, we'll go into that in 1 minute's time, mate. We'll go into that in 1 minute's time. Listen, before we carry on, get your comments in below. Let us know your thoughts on Richarlison and Sigurdsson and whether or not, would they make a difference to West Ham or have made a difference to West Ham, and the same with Bernard. And obviously we'll come into the predictions later on. It's been the international week still. West Ham have had players out left, right and centre all over the shop, players scoring, players playing well. Arnautovic has gone away with Austria, scored a couple of goals. Chicharito's gone away, set up and scored a goal. Declan Rice has started his first full international, played really well in internationals for England. We've got younger players getting promoted into the Republic of Ireland squad. Masuaku playing international level. Lanzini's travelled with Argentina, never played. I think every single West Ham fan panicked when they didn't see him in the team. But I think that was maybe just to keep him in and around the squad. Every other team in the Premier League probably has this same situation. But touch wood, it's looking like the majority, fingers crossed, are coming back safe.
Yeah.
What do you
absolutely?
How important in particular is it for Arnautovic to get the goals he got in that international break?
It's important, but it kind of I don't want to sound negative, but it kind of makes me ask a question: is he more comfortable with the Austrian squad than he is with the West Ham squad? Kind of touched on this in the last home game, that bizarre game against Huddersfield where we seemed to kind of get our shit together when Arnautovic went off the pitch, and ironically replaced by the likes of Perez and Hernandez came on, etc. And it was quite telling that Arnautovic at the end of the game came running on the pitch and was hugging players. And it kind of we kind of debated that in the crowd. I was sitting next to Mark Window,
yeah,
and we were kind of saying, look what's going on there. It's almost as if he felt he had to be part of it, but it didn't look like the players around him were kind of responding, mate. And I hope I'm wrong, and I'm only speculating. It's only what I think. I'm not suggesting anything untoward or bad is going on, but it kind of looks like, he seems comfortable with the Australian. He seems comfortable with the Austrian squad.
He's doing a Declan Rice.
Yeah. But I hope he's as comfortable. I know a lot of players have come out and said there's no problem with him and he's good in the dressing room and stuff. But it kind of, I don't know. He didn't look. He hasn't looked the player he looked like before the whole transfer saga. Yeah. And we've discussed it before. We've discussed it on other shows. And I'm kind of a bit concerned. I actually don't think he'll start on Saturday. No. I actually think what Hernandez did in the second half against Huddersfield and what he's done, internationally, I think that will be enough to actually get him back in the starting lineup. So great that he scored Arnautovic for Austria, but I just don't think the balance is right with him at the moment, West Ham.
I mean, if you're to believe certain reports coming out from the social sites, it's looking like they're saying Pellegrini is wanting to keep Hernandez, and quite possibly he's wanting to keep him based upon the fact that is what he's been doing for the team. But there is that element still that I know people keep saying he'd do it for the team, but I just want goals. I'm not, I would give up a work rate, workhorse striker if he got 2 goals a game, or a goal in a single game.
I think the reason why I'll be honest with you, I've come off all social media because I mean there's so much shit that goes on there, and I try to sort of have my own opinions based on what I see, and what I read in the newspapers rather than reading on what's online because people are far too opinionated. And I think if Pellegrini is keen on keeping Hernandez, it's because despite what's being said on social media, I think Hernandez will be more willing to be the sub when required than Arnautovic would. I think Arnautovic would want to start and would think he has a right to start. Whereas Hernandez, yes, obviously every player wants to start, but I think Hernandez will be more willing to start the odd game and accept that he will be dropped for, a game that might not suit his style of play, and then be brought back in again and so on.
And see if that's and if it's sold to him in that manner, and he understands that, and he still chips in with 10 plus goals a season, I think anyone would be creaming in their pants to know that they've got a Hernandez on the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like the idea of a super sub Hernandez, but I get it. So
I get it too. You know, and I mean, Hernandez could go to Spain and start every game. He could, and there's still that possibility. I'm still of the opinion that all our strikers will go. I actually don't think we'll keep any of them, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
But I know that sounds a bit, to a lot of fans, that sounds a little bit far-fetched. But I think Pellegrini would want Hernandez. Pellegrini would think Hernandez is a better backup to a new striker that he'll bring in. Whether that be, I can't remember the guy's name, Gomez or whoever.
Yeah.
I think Pellegrini would see Hernandez as a better backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what the selection is. I mean, they've both gone away. They've both kept up a bit, or got form. Chicharito's kept some form, and Arnautovic has gone away and gained some form, much needed form that West Ham need for the lucrative 7th place in the Premier League. Dropping back into midfield. Oh, sorry, go for it, Stel. You've got something else.
Go on.
Dropping back into midfield. Lanzini's not had any game time with Argentina. It's not a bad thing. I'm not massively going to cry my eyes out about that. It's nice to see these players playing for the big international sides. Anderson's played a couple of games. Nasri is fit again. I mean, has he been a revelation for West Ham?
Well, Nasri's been good when he's been fit.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to sort of see him now have a run of games.
Yeah.
And I think you could see he was a game changer against Huddersfield when he came on.
Yeah.
It's funny. Nasri's the sort of player that I've always known has been good, but I've never taken much notice of.
Yeah.
He's good at Arsenal. He was good at Man City. He's been good for France. But he's the kind of player where I kind of like, he's good, and it's only now that he's playing for us that I've actually seen how good he really is.
Yeah.
And he was the game changer against Huddersfield. He changed that game round. But all credit's got to go to. I know this isn't a review about Huddersfield, but all credit's got to go to Pellegrini for putting on so many attack-minded players.
Yeah.
And Nasri kind of got everyone going, got everyone ticking. He was doing the join-up play with Lanzini and Anderson and moving the ball around and getting it into dangerous positions and stuff like that. So he was, he's a good player, and I've actually got him down to maybe start on Saturday, but then we'll go into the team news in a minute.
Well, last question, and on the team selection, I suppose, before we do kind of predict it. Is it harsh, and would it be harsh if Balbuena was to step back into the side and take over Ogbona's position? And and give me your answer, and then give me what you think will happen.
Okay. Yes, I know we have this ongoing joking debate between Ogbonna.
Joking?
No, well, I'm not joking, but I think Ogbonna has risen to the challenge. He had a couple of shaky games at the start when Balbuena went out injured. But I think you should play a player if he's actually shown his worth, and I think Ogbonna has. And I think it would be harsh if he's dropped. One could argue that after the Huddersfield game, people might have started saying, oh, well, that's because of Ogbonna. But ironically, it wasn't Ogbonna who was at fault for most of the goals, if any of them.
He was at fault for one.
No, he wasn't. But
anyway. He actually was. But listen, let me jump in here because I'm going to say something. Diop didn't have his greatest game at Huddersfield.
Diop had a terrible game.
He had a terrible game. It's probably one of his worst games for West Ham. But that's, I suppose, highlighted at that occasion that Ogbonna had a decent game, although he still was at fault for one of the goals. No, my biggest.
Diop was at fault for but 2 goals.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
But the inconsistency that West Ham have shown at the back since Balbuena's been injured has been worrying, because there's not been that consistency in partnership. There's not that level of understanding. You can't see Diop and Ogbonna working together. You see the odd game.
Yeah, but ironically, I think the inconsistency has come more from the right back position than it has from the centre back positions, if you know what I mean. You know, Zabaleta's come in and out, and when he comes back in, he plays well, and then he can't play all the games because of his age, etc. Fredericks has had a good game, then he's had a poor game, then he's had a good game, then he's had a poor game. So I think you've got to look at the whole back four.
No, you definitely do. You definitely do. But if I question you on Balbuena, because he's now fit, he's had a development match, and he's had 2 more weeks to recoup from his injury, so he's been sitting on the bench. I have to relate it to that situation.
Yeah, mate. I'll be honest. And I think at the moment it would be harsh to. One could argue with the bad game that Diop had against Huddersfield, put Balbuena and Ogbonna in. You could argue that. But I don't think that would be right. And I don't think at the moment Ogbonna hasn't made any fatal. Let's also remember Ogbonna was the catalyst. Let's.
Oh, sorry.
Remember,
what?
Let's remember Ogbonna was the catalyst for the comeback with his goal against Huddersfield. And I think it would be harsh. It would be harsh. It could happen.
Yeah.
But it would be harsh. I've got an idea for midfield that would be far more controversial.
Right. Okay.
Than the back four.
Go for it. Go for it.
Well, I was going to mention about when you talked about the internationals earlier, and we didn't talk about Rice and the stick that Rice got again on shitty social media about his mediocre game for England.
Because people are fucking stupid still.
Because people are fucking stupid, and yet. What Rice was probably told to do was sit in that centre circle and break any attack down, and that's all you do. And as soon as you win the ball back, go back and sit in that centre circle in front of the back four,
and let everyone else do what they do.
Let everyone else do the attacking. Now, he played that perfectly, absolutely perfectly. And people that don't know anything about football go, "Well, yeah, he's not an all-rounder." He was told. Do this job, and he did it to a T. Now, here we are. When it comes to West Ham, why can't he do much the same and then have Nasri and Lanzini in front of him?
I couldn't agree with you more.
I'm serious, mate.
Why not?
And you know what that mean? That mean dropping Noble.
Yeah, but listen, it offers on paper the sort of entertaining football that any West Ham fan or neutral fan would want to look at. A player protects he is absolutely more than capable of doing that job alone, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially if he's got a solid back four behind them.
And
Controversially, we've just slagged off the back four, but anyway.
Yeah, but it's funny sometimes when you have 2 players trying to play that role. Sometimes there's confusion. Where do I go? Where do you go?
I don't like it. I've never liked it, but maybe that's because West Ham have never had 2 players that can do it. Which I don't think we have. We've had the Noble Kouati debate. We've had the Kouati Obiang debate, the Obiang Noble debate, the Obiang Rice debate, the Rice Noble debate. In the last maybe 3-4 years, we've never had the 2 players that can consistently do that. So it's like we're trying to do something that we can't do, and we maybe are missing out on an opportunity to play Lanzini, Nasri, Anderson, fucking Arnautovic or Chicharito up top, and you think creativity, you think excitement, you think flair, you think penetration. That would frighten a lot of things. Of course it would. You think penetration, you think.
Yeah. Because that's how we ended up finishing the game against Huddersfield, where it was only Rice as a holding midfielder.
Yeah.
Noble came off and Arnautovic came off, and then you had all these attacking players.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually we kind of laughed and like, Jesus, we're 3-1 down, or we were 3-2 down, and then all of a sudden it's like, but Pellegrini, all credit to him, when I'm going for it.
Yeah.
I'm going. What's the worst that could happen? We're losing anyway. We might just end up losing the game 4-2 or whatever. But he went, I'm going for it, and like having that, and you know what? It was an absolute pleasure. Those people that walked out the stadium on 60 Minutes missed some very fine attack-minded football.
Yeah.
And when we talk about West Ham way, we were playing the West Ham way, for those last few minutes with Nasri there, Lanzini, Anderson. Anderson came to life. Anderson had a shit game up to that point.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he came to life as well. Hernandez the poacher. What a great diving header. For his first goal. It was like, and it was as soon as we got that third goal, we knew we were going to win. The fans that stayed knew we were going to win, and I know it's quite brave, but we're playing at home. We're actually going to play against a team that's got an awful lot of skillful players themselves. So why not? Why not just go for it?
Yeah. And I suppose you've mentioned something there that fans have been debating about since the game is leaving early. Listen, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I just don't agree with it. I can't tell you the amount of games I've been to, you've been to still. West Ham have probably been losing 4-0.
I've been to games where
5-0, and I've still not left until the last minute. But still, I want to remind a lot of fans I remember being a kid, and I remember going to a game. West Ham were playing Norwich City, and we were 2-0 down. I can't get the date in particular, and we were 2-0 down. And honestly, the fans were kept going. Not leaving the stadium, like singing back in the side. And honestly, Tony COYI scored 2 goals in the space of a minute.
Yeah.
And we equalised. We drew the game 2 each. Let's remind the fans of Manchester United against Bayern Munich in the Champions League final. Yeah. Yes, okay. There's people would say to me, "Oh, but you can't compare that. That's a Champions League final." Well, no, I can compare it because there's a team that's losing and there's a team that's.
You can compare because football is live drama.
Yep.
And it's a 90-minute game. It's not a 60-minute game, a 50-minute game, a 65-minute game. It's a 90-minute game.
Absolutely.
And anything can happen.
And let me also remind fans of a time where West Ham played Wimbledon in the Premier League when we had Di Canio, Hearts, all that sort of malarkey in our squad. We went 3-0 up and we lost 4-3. I think they scored 2 or 3 goals near the last 10 minutes. So that wasn't a great result for us, but anything can happen. I just can't believe fans would leave 3-1 against the bottom of the league side. Look, I just don't get it. I don't understand.
As you said, each to their own.
Yeah.
Fans pay their money. They make their choices.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'd never leave. I don't understand why a fan would want to leave.
Yeah.
But
they missed a great day.
Those who stayed. I mean, okay. You can argue all you want. It was against Huddersfield. They should never have scored 3 goals against us. Blah blah blah. I know that.
But still, at the end of the day, you've got to be in it. You've got to be in it. You've got to qualify for the Premier League. You've got to get there. It doesn't matter. There's bigger teams that have come across Huddersfield, maybe not this season, but last season, that conceded goals left, right, and centre against them. So, do you know what? We won the game. See if we won the game 7-6. Who cares? We won the game.
Exactly, and that is the bottom line, and that's why we love. Fans love the game of football because you just don't know what's going to happen. Of course, if it's against the Man City and we're losing 5-0 after 20 minutes, of course you know what the result's going to be.
Yeah.
But
6-5 West Ham. We're going to win 6-5.
6-5, exactly. But yeah, it was a weird game. At 3-1, we were laughing, thinking, only West Ham can be losing to a bottom of the side team at home. But then, it was an absolute revelation, for us to come back. And that's the beauty of football. That's why you don't leave.
Still, I think we should skip we've given a kind of good case for players that maybe are going to come in and out. We've given a rough guesstimation of what we think. So without going through the team, I think we should just go straight on to predictions. Unless you want to give the fans, but you've kind of highlighted the fact that you could potentially see Nasri coming in.
I could see, quick rundown. I don't know about right back. Fredericks might play to combat any pace. He might, but he didn't have a great game the last game he played.
And I think it's going to be Fredericks though, personally. Yeah, as long as he's fit, I think I think that's going to be Pellegrini's rest of the season choice for the rest of the season if he can get away with that. Yeah,
I kind of agree. So Fredericks, Diop, Ogbonna, Creswell.
And I just on that, I think there could be a possibility that, harshly, whether people see it as harsh or not, I think there could be a possibility Balbuena could be in. Yeah. That's me thinking. That's, you know, I want Balbuena back in, but I think Balbuena might be back in. So.
And then midfield, I don't know if he would be brave enough to go for Rice and then Nasri and Lanzini, but if he doesn't, then it'll be Rice and Noble. And then between, and then possibly he'll play Lanzini out wide, Anderson out wide. He'll play Nasri out wide, Anderson out wide, Lanzini in the middle, and Hernandez up front. That's who I think will play.
Yep.
So it's a choice between whether he plays Noble or not. To give Nasri that combination with Lanzini. If he doesn't play Noble, I think possibly Antonio will start.
Yeah. God, other players we keep forgetting. Let's go straight on to predictions. Still, go through predictions.
Difficult one. I think it's going to be a draw. As much as I love to say it's going to be a win, I think it's kind of got draw written all over it. I think it's going to be a 2-2.
Yeah, I think there's going to be goals. There's got to be goals. I think both teams concede, score.
Look at the stats. They've conceded 42. We conceded 46.
Yeah.
They've scored the same. They've scored 43. We've scored 41.
Yeah.
So there. Mind you, they've had more clean sheets than us. They've had 9 clean sheets to our 5. But
it is a London Stadium, and London Stadium likes goals. So
yeah, it'll be high scoring. It'll be 2-2.
Before we started, I kind of felt like 2-2 was an option I was going to go down, but I've got to stay on the positive side, so I'm going to creep in a West Ham win at 3-2.
I'll take that.
Yeah, make sure you get your comments in below. Let us know your predictions on the game for Saturday. Let us know if you agree with everything we mentioned there about the players. Do you agree with Estelle about dropping Noble? Do you agree with me about dropping Ogbonna? Do you think it's harsh or not? Get your opinions in below. Anything last you want to add in, Estelle, before we go?
No. Just whoever turns up for the late kickoff, don't go rushing to catch the train with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah. Good shout. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, follow us on all the socials, get your questions in. Any of you are interested in writing for the website, being on the show, get in contact with us and we'll get you all hooked up. Anyway, he's been Still, I've been Anton, this is Irons United. Come on, you words.